As we head into fall, we're starting to lack some color that all of our summer blooming plants provided us. So this is a great time to reassess our gardens and see what we can add to provide another season of color to our garden. I'm going to show you 5 shrubs that I have in my garden that are beautiful to transition into fall and that will offer you color all season long. We're going to start with hydrangeas. This one here is a Proven Winners Quick Fire hydrangea. It is a panicle type hydrangea that when it first emerges with blooms will have a creamy white open type panicle, and then it will age to a rosy pink, and as the temperatures get even cooler and the closer we get to mid-fall, these will start turning a beautiful shade of red. So it is a very beautiful and stunning hydrangea to add to your garden to give you some fall interest. This particular hydrangea gets to be about 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, so it is a larger size hydrangea, so you want to give it some space. My goal is that eventually it will take up this whole space and be even more stunning than it already is. In the category of hydrangeas, my next favorite hydrangea would be this one here, which is the Limelight. I have in my garden the Little Lime, which is a more compact version of the traditional Limelight. The Limelight comes in at 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, where this one here, the Little Lime, stays more compact at a 3 to 5 foot tall and wide range. I absolutely love these hydrangeas. They're stunning. They offer so much different color throughout the season that keeps your interest going. They first emerge with little clusters of lime green blooms, and then the blooms open up to a creamy white before aging to shades of pink as the weather cools off. In some regions in the south or where they have warmer evenings, they may not get the pink tones that we get here in the northeast, but it is a beautiful shrub that will continue to give you long season interest as we head into the fall. These look stunning as dried floral arrangements. The panicles are so large, and then they get this like antique pink with shades of green and mauve and a little bit of purple, just absolutely beautiful. So if you don't have the Limelight in your garden, I highly suggest it as a beautiful shrub for some long season interest that will take you through fall. Now, they have an even newer variety of Limelight, which is called the Limelight Prime. I don't have the Limelight Prime in my garden yet, but I am hoping to add one in the future. The Limelight Prime is even a more of an improved shrub over the Limelight and the Little Lime. The Prime has been bred for even stronger stem strength and for even more blooms, if you can believe that. Now, the stem strength is something that I'm after because while you can prune these each season to keep just the tallest and strongest canes, if you get a lot of rain and heavy rain, because these panicles are so large, they do tend to flop. This hedge looked absolutely beautiful until just a couple of weeks ago when we got 2 really heavy downpours of rain, and then it did cause some of the weaker stems to kind of droop, and you can see that in these 2 shrubs there. But this one is still doing really well. And part of the reason for that is that in late winter, I will go through and I will do some selective pruning on these. And over time, as your shrubs age and as you prune out the weaker stems, you do end up with a structure that is sturdier and that will be able to better withstand the weight of these beautiful panicles on this hydrangea. And the last hydrangea in my category of hydrangeas that offer fall interest is the oak leaf hydrangea. I have this little beauty here that is still a baby, but look at this gorgeous golden color. Now, they call these oak leaf hydrangeas because of the shape of the foliage. They're shaped like oak leaves. This particular variety, called Little Honey, is a dwarf oak leaf hydrangea coming in at only about 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. Most traditional oak leaf hydrangeas get to be about 8 feet tall and wide, so quite large. Now, this dwarf version particularly caught my eye because of its golden color. It has this beautiful golden foliage all summer long, and then it ages to a beautiful red in the fall. So these are beautiful to have in your garden for some fall interest. Now, this one doesn't have any blooms on it because it is new. I only planted it this year from a 4-inch container, so it has put on quite a bit of growth, but not enough to yet give me some blooms. So hopefully next year we'll get beautiful blooms in addition to this gorgeous foliage. Royal Purple Smokebush, another really beautiful fall interest shrub. Now mine, as you can see here, I'm using my skirt as a backdrop, looks green. So you might be wondering, well, why is your Royal Purple Smokebush, that is typically a deep shade of burgundy, red, and purple, why does it look green? Well, it was red earlier on in the spring when it first leaved out. It was a beautiful shade of burgundy red, and it actually got pretty bright, but it then turned this muddy green. Some research that I did shows that it's possible that the really high heat and temperatures that we got this past summer caused it to go this muddy green. So while mine doesn't look great right now, it is a fairly young shrub. I only planted it last spring. So this is year 2 in my garden. So it did grow some, but this year the leaves did turn green. Otherwise, the Royal Purple Smokebush is typically a really beautiful red shrub that gets these really fluffy panicles of blooms in the early summer. And it gets to be about 12 feet tall and wide. You can train it as a tree or as a shrub, depending on how you prune it. They are also supposed to be deer resistant and drought tolerant. I can vouch for the drought tolerant because it's doing fine, it's alive, despite us having little to no rain this summer. However, in terms of the deer resistance, I would say that that might not be entirely accurate in my garden. We have a lot of deer pressure, and I often get comments about how my garden looks so beautiful and that I must not have deers and bunnies. I do. I just have to spray pretty regularly to keep them away from my plants. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I got a little lax in the last couple of weeks, and they did take quite a few bites out of this shrub. So I would say that in my garden, the Royal Purple Smokebush is not deer resistant, but nonetheless, it is typically a really beautiful shrub for red color that you can add to your garden. Beautyberry, another wonderful shrub for fall interest. This particular one has dark foliage. This is the Proven Winners Pearl Glam Beautyberry, and it starts off with this really dark foliage and these clusters of blooms that you'll get in mid to late summer. The blooms start off this pretty white color, and then they open up to little pink flowers before giving its fall fruit, which are these clusters of gorgeous purple pink berries that the birds absolutely love. Now, with most shrubs that will give you berries, you need a male and a female to pollinate each other so that you'll get the berries. Not with the beautyberry. The beautyberry is self-pollinating, so even if you just have one in your garden, you will still get the beautiful fruit or the berries that they produce. This particular variety gets to be about 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, and I bought this in a small 4-inch container, and this is its 3rd year in my garden, so it has grown a lot. This is a great addition for fall interest in your garden. The next shrub we'll talk about is the Ninebark. I currently have 2 Ninebarks. One has been planted for a couple of years, the Tiny Wine Ninebark, which is right here. Now these have a couple of features that make them really beautiful long season and fall interest plants. The Ninebark has really gorgeous dark foliage, and as we get into this late spring, early summer, it has large blooms, large clusters of these tiny little blooms that look pink and white. They're just really beautiful. And then as the season progresses and the weather cools off and we get into the fall, this lovely dark foliage turns a gorgeous shade of red. But it doesn't stop there. This is a deciduous shrub, which means that it loses all of its foliage. But even when it has no foliage, you still get some amazing interest with a peeling bark, similar to a birch. I've had this Tiny Wine Ninebark planted in my garden. This is its 2nd year. This is the dwarf version of the Proven Winners Ninebarks. This Tiny Wine Ninebark only gets to be about 3 to 5 feet tall and wide, and it is hardy in zones 3 through 7. Recently, on one of my trips to Lowe's, I was able to find a full-size version of the Ninebark called the Summer Wine Ninebark on clearance for 50% off. The regular price on this was $27.98. Wow, There it is, $27.98, and I paid about $14 for it. Now this larger version gets much bigger than the dwarf, and the full size of it is 5 to 8 feet tall and wide. So it's much larger, but the features are much the same. It also has really pretty dark foliage, and then it will get these clusters of blooms in spring, late spring, early summer. You'll get all of these clusters of these really small, beautiful, white, pinkish blooms. And once those are gone, you'll still have the beautiful color on the foliage, which will intensify to the bright red as we get into fall. And then it also has the peeling bark. So both of them have the same features. The difference is in the size. If you have a smaller garden or want a more compact plant, you could go with the tiny wine, which is the dwarf version. And if you have more space, you can opt for the summer wine, which is the larger version. But they are both beautiful and will provide a lot of interest through the summer and fall, as well as the winter with the peeling bark. Viburnums. This one here is called a Japanese snowball bush. This viburnum gets quite large at 10 to 15 feet tall and wide. So it can either be a really large bush or trained into a tree. They are often confused or mistaken for hydrangea trees because of their large blooms. They almost look like a standard panicle type hydrangea tree. As we get into the fall and the weather cools off, it will start turning a beautiful burgundy purplish red color. So you get the beautiful blooms in the spring and you get the beautiful fall color. Well, these were my 5 picks for some shrubs that you can add to your garden for some fall interest. Do you grow any of these in your garden, or do you have a different shrub that could also be a wonderful option for a fall shrub? Comment below so we can learn from each other. If you liked this video, I would love it if you could hit the thumbs up, and if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, if you could please subscribe. I cannot wait to get these 2 shrubs planted in my garden now as the weather starts to cool off. It just feels so nice to work in the garden with a little bit cooler weather here in the Northeast. It's been so hot that the fall feels like such a gift this year. Thank you for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.